So hi guys, today we are going to study about lambda function. Earlier we had studied about functions, generator functions, and we get to know that how we can generate generator functions using yield keyword. So lambda function is nothing different. It's also like a function, like as all the functions have some functionality. So it has also some functionality which we are going to study today. Now let's take an example of a simple function like we assign value to n is equal to 4 and p is equal to 2. As we assigned the value, now let me write a function using define keyword def name of the function, and we want to pass the parameters. So how many parameters? We want to pass two parameters, n and p, and we want to return what? We want to return the power of n. So p, and now if we run this function, now we call the function with the name of the function, and we have to pass the parameter. So we have to take two parameters n and p. So let me pass the value for n and p, 4 comma 6. Now we are getting the power of the n. So this is a simple function which we had just tried. Now let's see that how we can generate lambda function. So lambda is a reserved keyword in Python which is used to generate lambda functions. Here we take parameters. So as we had earlier taken two parameters in above function, so let me take parameters again and colon. So colon after the value which we write after the colon is taken as a return. So what we want to return? We want power. So if we run this, so we can see here that we are getting function main as lambda function. So this is our lambda function. So how we can return the value, how we can get the output from this value, we will see this. Let's see that how we can call this function. So let me assign this function equal to a. So now what it is happening here, that the whole result of this lambda function is getting stored into a. Like if we want to call this lambda function, we have to use a as. So let me run it again so that values are get assigned to a. Now we can see that we did not get an output of lambda function. Let me give parameters. So if we pass parameters as 4 and 6, so what we are getting, we are getting the same result as we had used above in the learn function. So this is known as lambda function, one-liner function, or anonymous function. Anonymous function is that we had defined the name after writing the function. Like we had used a here. So a we had assigned after writing the function. We could write any name for it, and then we can call that name. So let's take another example. We take multiply the name of function, and it is a lambda function. So we take two parameters x and y colon. So what we type after colon is return. So let me x multiply by y. Now if we run it, and if we call the multiply function, sorry, multiply, and if we pass the parameters, it takes two parameters. So 5 comma 5. So what it return? It returned 25 for us. So we had written a simple lambda function for multiply operation. Let's take another example. Function to convert Celsius into Fahrenheit. So Celsius dash in Fahrenheit. So we are creating a lambda function using the lambda keyword, and we are taking Celsius as input, and what we want to return, we return the Fahrenheit. So how we can convert Celsius into Fahrenheit? We can use a simple formula here. 9 divisible by 5 into C plus 32. So this is our formula to convert Celsius into Fahrenheit. So if we run this function, it executes successfully. Now we have to call this function, we need to call it by the name, and if we pass the value here, so 66. So what it returns, it returns the Fahrenheit for us. So we pass the value in Celsius and return it in Fahrenheit for us. Let us take another example here. Like we want to find the maximum of two numbers. So let me define find dash max. using lambda function. So we are using the lambda keyword, and we want to pass two parameters because we want to get the maximum of two numbers. So x and y are parameters, and we want x. If x is greater than y, so what it is doing here, that it will check if x is greater than y, then it will return x, else it will return y. Now if we run this function, it executes successfully, and we have to find max, calling the function by name, and we are passing the parameter like 66 comma 44. Now when max is not defined, let me just, so here we are just here we did a mistake, we used a colon, so we want to is equal to, and if we run it now, then it run 66 because 66 is greater than 44. Let's take another example here, like someone asks us to write a lambda function to find the length of a string. So let me take a string here as name is equal to any. So now we want a function which will find the length. So length is equal to lambda. Using the lambda keyword, we are defining the function. So lambda name colon length of name. So it is nothing, like we can use any keyword here. That's not required that we use the same name as we used above. We could use any name here. So these are just parameters. So we can use any name for them. And let me find length function, call it, and let me assign the name because we want to find the length of this name. So we had passed the name here. So we get the string length of 6. So that's it for today. Please try to practice a lot more and try different combinations, and we will see you again in next lecture with another functions. Thank you very much. Bye.